I was just thinking in my head at the time, what are the chances? Why me out of everyone else? I was warned prior by my family that this is reality, this is how he looks, and this is how he's going to look for a long period of time. So the longer I waited, I felt like the harder it was to visualize and to know what to expect going into that room. So my name is Ahmed Al-Sharrah. I am 20 years old. I'm currently a first-year medical student at the Barts in the London School of Medicine and Dentistry. I'm currently in Kuwait, and this has been since the start of April. I was flown back from London as a result of the Kuwaiti government's decision to pull back all of its international students. And this decision came from the increasing coronavirus cases that have been going on worldwide. The past 6 months were really stressful, and a lot has happened during then. To start it off, it was just a normal day around August time. My friend had just left my house and I was going upstairs. And then, to my disbelief, I see my entire family just circling around each other, waiting for me. So that had initially worried me, the fact that that happened. And then they had informed me after a lengthy talk that my dad had fallen unconscious multiple times and was sent to an emergency hospital in Berlin. And he was suspected of having cancer in his brain as a result. And that was extremely disheartening to hear out the get-go. It was a completely surprising thing. They had just told it to me straight up without kind of easing me onto it. So I feel like my initial feelings were mostly shocked and disbelief, that I couldn't believe that it was happening. And afterwards, we were just discussing our plans moving forward in terms of what we have to do now, all the preparatory works that we have to do moving on, and how to get to my dad as soon as possible. We were getting closer to the date where I was meant to leave to go to Berlin. And in Kuwait, the rule is during this pandemic that you are required to take a COVID test a maximum of 2 days before your flight, and you have to have your flight booked prior to taking this test. So our entire family obviously went at the same time all together to take the test at the same time, and the results came out the next day. And also, to my disbelief, I found out that I was the only one to test COVID positive. And I had to quarantine as a result, while my entire family were initially screaming at me and shouting at me for my negligence. But yeah, my entire family had to leave on the scheduled travel date, and I was left alone in Kuwait to quarantine for an entire week before I was able to retake the test and go see my dad in Berlin. It was initially very frustrating knowing that my entire family are going to see my dad and I am left behind. It was also scary at the same time, thinking of getting COVID and listening on the news about what happened to everyone, all the complications people have received, and how they just felt in terms of their symptoms and illness. So that did scare me a little bit, but going into medicine, I do have a decent background, and I do enjoy reading a lot of journals, especially during COVID. And thankfully, I was asymptomatic during that period, and I didn't experience serious symptoms in terms of the infection. So I'm very thankful about that. Eventually, when I did land in Germany, I had to take another test in the airport, and that test was mandatory if I wanted to see my father. And the only problem that did come with that is how long it took to actually come out, the results themselves. My entire family had informed me that they got the results within a maximum of 2 days after they had done the test, whereas I had to wait for over a week before I finally got my results. And even then, I did not get the results directly through the website that they instructed me to go to. I had to go talk to the embassy, the Kuwait embassy in Germany, and they had to talk to the hospitals and contact them on a daily basis. And eventually the hospital did inform them that I was negative. But the fact that I had to wait that long, and to add a bit of salt to the wound, my aunts and uncles who had come, I think 4 or 5 days after me, ended up getting their results before I did. And they ended up seeing my father before I did as a result, which also added a lot of frustration to my feelings and a lot of stress, because the longer I was delayed in seeing my dad, the more nervous I got, because I hadn't seen him prior. I hadn't seen any pictures or videos of him in the hospital. So the longer I waited, I felt like the harder it was to visualize and to know what to expect going into that room. I don't think I can say that I was treated unfairly, because at the end of the day, especially that sector, that work sector, is being pressured so much every single day because of this pandemic. I just have to appreciate it, and I just hoped for the best. I'd like to say that my joy finally being able to see him definitely outweighed all that frustration that came beforehand. But that was quickly met with sadness, as I had not anticipated or expected the state that my father was in, since it was my first time. I was warned prior by my family that this is reality, this is how he looks, and this is how he's going to look for a long period of time. And they tried the best that they could to ease me into the process, but the best way that I felt of easing myself into the process is just doing it and actually seeing him. Looking back at it, it definitely did. It definitely helped a lot. I can say that the first few times of meeting my father in the hospital were the worst, for sure. It's just the idea of getting accustomed to how he looks, getting accustomed to his physical limitations, his cognitive limitations, and all of that. It was definitely a hard thing to see, hard thing to be in a room with and just to think about. But I definitely feel like after a few times, especially the third or fourth time I saw him, I started getting used to it. I started appreciating my visits a lot more, and my joy definitely outweighed my frustration. The only positive I can think of, and the thing that I realized the most, is how strong my friendship circle really is, and just to know that everyone truly cares about me. And no matter how few they are, I know that no matter what happens, they'll be by my side, no matter what. This whole experience truly made me appreciate and respect all my friends that have constantly checked up on me, constantly done everything they could to cheer me up or make me smile or laugh. And another one that I think, I might not be considering it right now, but I am thinking about it in the future. It is something that will happen, but I think that this whole situation being difficult and extremely stressful for me, alongside my university work, I think that would definitely impact my development as a person. Since if you think about it, doing a course as rigorous as medicine, as well as having to be put under this amount of stress and worry from your father, can really take its toll on a person. And I feel like if I can get through this positively, I feel like moving forward I can tackle on any hardships in my life in the future and any obstacles in my way, which I feel like would be a positive coming out of this ordeal.